presents Dr. Roger Sedjo.
Hello, I'm Roger Sedjo. I'm a senior fellow with Resources for the Future, and I want to talk with you today about using wood for energy to mitigate greenhouse gases. We are all aware, I think, that biomass can be used for energy. And it's commonly believed that biomass can be a substantial substitute for fossil fuels, and as a substitute, it is a non-greenhouse gas, can be a non-greenhouse gas producer. For example, if we look at the estimates for the U.S. by the U.S. Energy Information Agency, they look and project into the future, forecast into the future, that renewable fuels would double their percentage of U.S. power from 5% in 2010 to 16% in 2025. Now, renewable fuels consist of wind power, solar power, and biomass energy. If within that context of renewable fuels, if we look at biomass energy, it was the largest component of the non-renewables in 2008 and is projected to double by 2025. So wood is a very substantial, biomass energy is a substantial fraction of renewable, and wood is a substantial fraction of biomass feedstock. There are two issues surrounding wood. The first, and actually two issues surrounding the use of any feedstock for energy. For wood, the question is it economically viable? Can it compete economically with fossil fuels? And the second is, what are the greenhouse gas implications of wood compared to those of fossil fuels? Now, one question that comes up regularly is wood carbon neutral? Wood, bioenergy, releases carbon into the atmosphere. But wood regrowth can neutralize the releases. In forestry area, there's the concept of a renewable forest, of a regulated forest. That is, we use the same amount of wood every year as is regrowing. So we can have a forest and we can draw from it, and the stock of forest remains constant because we're drawing an amount out of that forest that just equals the regrowth of that forest. So wood energy can be carbon neutral if it is sustainably produced. Let's look at the economics of this a little bit. Fossil fuels release carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide contributes to global warming, and carbon dioxide is costly in that process. CO2 is estimated to do over $30 of damage per ton released. So that's the non-market costs associated with the use of fossil fuels. So the cost of fossil fuels is really the commodity price. What do you pay for coal or oil or what have you? And an additional $30 per ton based on the amount of CO2 released in the use of fossil fuels. The cost of wood energy is also its commodity price, but if it can be managed sustainably without carbon emissions, that is, offsetting carbon emissions, then there's no serious carbon emission costs associated with the use of wood for bioenergy. In summary then, the economics of wood bioenergy depends upon both the market costs and the non-market costs. If we look at fossil fuels, we've got to compare the market cost of fossil fuels with the cost of wood, the market cost of wood for bioenergy. But in addition, in a world where we're concerned about greenhouse gas emissions and global warming, we have to consider the non-market costs. Those non-market costs are the damages associated with carbon emissions, and if we can manage wood in a fashion where it's renewable, then there are no carbon emissions, and hence there are no damages associated with the use of wood for energy. But in the case of fossil fuels, that system is irreversible, and so we necessarily have a one-way flow from fossil fuels into the atmosphere. Thank you very much.